Please welcome Pennsylvania State Representative Patrick Harkins.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be with you. I'm State Representative Pat Harkins, and I'm proud to welcome you and Tim Walz to Erie, in particular my district. I'm so excited that Governor Walz is here in Erie today. We met him at the airport earlier, and you won't find a more decent, down-to-earth, grounded guy. His visit added real excitement to this political season, and after seeing Governor Walz's acceptance speech at the convention in Chicago a couple weeks ago, it was obvious that we have a winning team. While in Chicago, Governor Walz spoke of the many issues that he experienced and dealt with in his life and throughout his career that people in Erie can relate to. We know how to stretch a dollar when raising a young family, and he did the same as a teacher and coach and congressman. As a congressman, he went to bat for working people, families and union workers, and he knows what working people are facing these days, and he has a strong track record of going to bat for those people and their interests. As governor, he passed paid family leave and helped make sure that no child ever went hungry at school. Now Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are running to defeat Donald Trump. Yes. And that includes his extreme Project 2025, yes, agenda that would jack up costs for working families by up to $3,900, ban abortion nationwide, give tax breaks for the billionaires and major corporations. We must defeat Donald Trump. And I know in my heart that Erie County is going to be a crucial piece to that success. I'm proud to work and campaign for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and I hope you will join me and do all you can to make sure that they are both elected November 5th. Thank you.
Please welcome President of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, Angela Ferrito.
Good evening, Erie. I am so happy to be here today, not just because this is my hometown, but that's right, but because my hometown is getting ready to welcome the next Vice President of the United States. I am Angela Ferrito, and I am the president of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. Here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we know full well the impacts that strong economic policy can have on working families and everyday Americans. We know just how important it is to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this November and reject Trump and his failed economic agenda. As a union woman, I know that we must stand up to Trump and his extreme anti-worker, anti-union Project 2025 agenda. That's right, boo. Trump and his Project 2025 allies have plans to let employers stop paying many workers overtime, gut the unions and their ability to organize, and dismantle the National Labor Relations Board. That's right. In contrast, Vice President Harris has helped lead the most pro-labor administration in U.S. history. She's running alongside Governor Tim Walz to continue that progress, to build an economy where families can not just get by, but get ahead. We know that good economic policy lifts up labor, and when labor does well, America does well. I am certain that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz know this personally too. Vice President Harris has stood with workers throughout her career. As Attorney General, she took on wage theft to ensure workers were getting their fair share. As a U.S. Senator, she fought for two of the most vulnerable groups of workers, domestic workers and farm workers. Yes. She led the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights, and she introduced legislation to increase wages and worksite protections for farm workers. When she was elected vice president, she chaired the White House Task Force on Worker Organizing and Empowerment and went to work removing Trump's union-busting buddies from the National Labor Relations Board and dismantling the barriers Trump put in place that tried to keep workers from organizing. And she did all of this because, like I said, she knows that when unions are strong, America is strong. So I believe that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, that when they say they are listening to us. I believe that when they say there is still work to be done to continue to lower cost every day for working families, because I know that she is fighting for us, all while Trump only ever has looked out for himself. And I know that when they are elected, they will continue to center working and middle-class families to deliver solutions that work for all of us. It's great to be home, Erie. Onward to victory!
See
Please welcome Erie Public School teacher, Jody Abbott.
Humbled, honored, excited. These are three simple words to describe the excitement of this incredible opportunity. The opportunity to introduce our next Vice President of the United States. My name is Jody Abbott, and I am a proud teacher for Erie's Public Schools. A proud wife and mother. And as the second vice president of the Erie Education Association, I am a proud union member. As teachers, we are given the tools to shape minds and the opportunity to make a difference in the world. Tim Walz understands this. Tim is someone who understands how to lead, how to affect change, and how to do so with compassion, understanding, and most importantly, grit. Whether as a teacher doing lunch duty, which, if you know, you know, or as a beloved father and incredible leader, what you see is a man who exemplifies grit. Every day, thank you, every day, teachers like myself and Tim Walz show up. We stand up and we work on behalf of those who might not be able to stand up for themselves yet. As President and Vice President, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will always stand up for us and for the people of Erie. Together, we'll reject Donald Trump and send him packing. I am incredibly honored to introduce to you Governor Tim Walz, the next President of the United States.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you, Erie. Wow. Thank you, Erie. Erie, you might know, a while back, Donald Trump said these crowds are all AI. You know what's not AI? Your votes. That's what's not AI. So, good to be back in Pennsylvania, everybody. A thank you to Jody. 24 years of serving our children, this community, as a proud school teacher and proud union member. Give it up to Jody.
It's noble work. So to each of you out here, I'm grateful for that. And I have to tell you, I am so incredibly grateful for the ability that this state has done to continuously send incredible people into office. I want to first of all thank Mayor Schemmer here in Erie for that. Look at this. This backdrop is unbelievable, that's coming from somebody who knows a little something about lakes in Minnesota. This is a good one. This is a good one. And look, I think all of you know this. We've got work to do this fall, but the first thing is, and I have to tell you this as someone who had the opportunity to work with this man, travel overseas with this man, watch what he's done for this country. Bob Casey's a national treasure. Send him back. Send him back. Senator Fetterman doing the great work. That's the only guy who dresses down better than me, I'll guarantee you that. That guy's got it. And I just want to say this, someone who I call a dear friend, someone I've watched, and someone who blasted onto the national scene doing the work that needed to be done. When a bridge needed to be repaired, that guy was there. Governor Shapiro. And thank you for him. Incredible. To all those local elected officials who put themselves and their families out here and stand up, thank you for supporting them. Thanks for standing them back. Point of personal privilege, too, a little while ago, I met a young lady back here, 94 years young, Noelle, and 45 years teaching, and she's here. She told me because she believes in the new way forward and what we can do together. So thank you. And on behalf of the Vice President, myself, to each of you, thank you. Look, there are a million places you could be with your time, your talent, and your treasure. You came out here. You came out here to stand next to neighbors, some friends, some new folks you met. You came out here. My God, it's 2 hours from kickoff, people, and you came out here for the NFL season. But you came out here, as the Vice President always says, for a simple and beautiful reason. You love this country. That's why you came. That's why you came. And I am incredibly grateful for it. But look, I always, some of you know, and I got to tell you, I'm just going to go ahead and say, the coach signs warm my heart. Thank you. They warm my heart. A lot of years. I tell people, never close the yearbook. That state championship is as fresh today as it was 25 years ago. But the great thing about it is teaching, coaching, everything. It's that first week, the new start, the opportunities to a new season. Everything's fresh. Clean slate. Anything's possible. All the things are there. We're all undefeated at this point in time with the opportunity to build something better for ourselves. That's what it is. To build something better. So I think all of you are here and you feel it. And for the young people who are here, look, between the last election, COVID, and the last 9 years of this nonsense after that guy came down a gold escalator, they've tried to tell you that this can't be joyful. This can't be fun. This can't be hopeful. This can't be positive about the future. Well, we reject that, and it took Kamala Harris to come onto the scene to tell us this is a joyful thing we're doing. This is hopeful. People are starting to figure this out. From her first day as a prosecutor, then to a district attorney, then to the attorney general of the largest state in the nation, then to a United States senator, and then to vice president of the United States. Yeah, she's qualified. Let me know that. She's qualified. But and she does this work waking up every day, doing it for the people of this country. She's the one. She's the one who took on the predators. She's the one who took on the fraudsters. She's the one who took on the transnational gangs. She stood up to the corporate interest. She never hesitated to reach across the aisle and work together if it was right for the American people. So when she put her name out there, she's running on this idea of an opportunity economy where everybody belongs and everybody has a place. Everybody. And she's not talking about just getting by with 3 jobs and trying to make the rent. She's talking about where we can make this country thrive and people can get ahead. That's the type of economy. And this whole idea, these folks who want to tell us the red state, blue state, big city versus small town, trying to tell us that we're different or there's 2 different Americas, whatever. I witnessed this down in Savannah, Georgia. We're down there on a bus. We're getting off the bus. It's just her and her husband, Doug, my wife, Gwen, and I. We're getting off the bus. And there's a bunch of our supporters standing there on the side of the street waving flags. And there was folks that were not our supporters. You can always tell them because they all have the same hats on, so you can see who they were. A group of independent thinkers ready to go. But here's what she said. She never missed a beat. She turned around and looked at me and she said, don't ever forget. We work as hard for them and their family and for the things that are right for them as we do for this side. So here's the thing. She's talking about those folks because we're trying to get them because our policies will make their lives better, where everyone gets that shot. She's talking about cutting taxes for the middle class. Look, when you keep hearing this, they want to get this, talking about price gouging at the grocery store. Look, I know something about this. I come from farm country. Our farmers aren't getting rich right now. They're getting $3.90 for corn. Somebody in the middle is, and those folks need to stop price gouging us. That's simple. This idea of owning a home and lowering the cost of owning a home, we know that that is where generational wealth is created. For someone like me, the ability to get in a home, it was the GI Bill. What she's proposing is the opportunity to help folks get that down payment in, and then they can start owning that home and paying that mortgage, making a difference. And we saw something that should have happened a damn long time ago. We finally are negotiating with Medicare to reduce the cost of prescription drugs. Look, I'm fine with people being successful, but drug companies with CEOs making millions and millions of millions while our seniors can't afford insulin, that is obscene and it needs to end, and it will with Kamala Harris. And then just yesterday, she proposed, and we'll put it into law, the ability to start and grow your own business. There's folks here that are entrepreneurs, want to get started. Right now, you can expense $5,000, and that is a tax credit for your startup. Yesterday, Vice President Harris proposed $50,000 to get off the land and get things started. And I know there's too many of you here, like my family went through this, relieving folks of medical debt so they quit reporting you to the credit bureau and garnishing your wages just because you tried to get somebody to stay alive by taking them to the hospital. We can fix it. We can fix it. So look, I'm proud to be part of this fight, and I think for so many of you, and to be clear, we're here in Erie because every vote matters and every single community in this country matters. Yeah. Across this country, I grew up in a small town in Nebraska, a town of a population of 400, working on the family farm. And I tell people this, I had 24 kids in my class, 12 were cousins. So, but you know what? Not a single one of them went on to be a venture capitalist, I'll tell you that. Not a single one of them went off to rip people off in New York City by discriminating against rental housing and things like that. Most of them went on to start businesses, become nurses, teachers, farmers, and do an honest day's work. Those are the folks who need to get a tax cut. Those are the folks who need to get a break. But just like here in Erie, and I know this is true across the country, when you grow up in a town like this or a town like Butte, Nebraska, you learn to take care of your neighbors. You learn to understand that everybody belongs, and when we work for a common good, we have a saying in Minnesota, when we each do better, we each do better. The idea is when every single one of us. So this idea of those values of a shared community, if you work hard, you should be able to earn an honest day's wage, those animated my public service and Vice President Harris's service. She talks about this often. Where else but in America, from a girl from Oakland and a boy from rural Nebraska, can go on and become the next president and vice president of the United States. Those middle-class values are what we're going to bring to the White House come November with your help. Now look, I'm not naive. Not everybody sees the world the same way. It's very clear that our opponents in this race see the world differently. Now, I'm going to quote, which I think is a brilliant quote, by your great governor, Josh Shapiro. He often says, and I hear him say this, whenever Donald Trump's talking about America, he's shit-talking America. He does not believe in the promise of America, and he continues to put this country down. Whether it's our veterans or working people, he continues to do it. And you know why he does it? You know why he does that? Because he can only think of himself. He can only think of the service for himself. We saw it. When this guy was in power, first thing he did, he told us this. Remember 9 years ago? Oh, healthcare would be simple. I got a plan on the first day. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. The first day plan was to repeal the Affordable Care Act, taking away our protections. And I'll give him this. The second thing he did say he was going to do this. He was very clear about it. He promised he would do it, and he kept his word. He said, with a bunch of his rich friends, he goes, you're super rich, these folks down in Mar-a-Lago, and I'm going to cut your taxes. He did that. He did that. And the third thing he did, he wasn't quite so honest about because he told us he wasn't going to do it. He installed 3 Supreme Court justices who took away our right to control our own bodies. He did all that before he tried to violently overthrow our democratic government, too, by the way. In an election that he got his butt whipped fair and square and lost. It's that simple. It's that simple. Look, I'm not telling Pennsylvanians anything you don't already know. Under Donald Trump, you lost 275,000 jobs during the Trump years. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, with Josh Shapiro, you gained back 550,000 in the last 4 years. With the leadership of your elected officials here, you've got some of the lowest unemployment in history here in Erie. So you know, we can't afford 4 more years of this guy. What I will say is good about this one is, he's been very clear about this. He's promised to pick up right where he left off the last time. But I will say this, he's learned a little something, and it's going to be much, much worse if he gets the opportunity. What's really good is, we don't have to guess what he's going to do, because they wrote it out in a 900-page manual called Project 2025. This is where, film this one or whatever, so you tell your relatives, because, look, we all got them. We know we got to keep talking to them. He said what he would do, and I believe him. He kept his promise on this. So one thing he said, he kept his promise. He's going to cut taxes for the rich. His tariffs will have a $4,000 a year tax hike on all of you. There's not a single economist in the country or any banker or anybody else who knows anything about economics does not believe the tariffs he's proposing will not fall right on you in the products that you buy. It's exactly the way it works. That's just facts. He said he'd clean out all the experts in government, all the dedicated public servants who don't serve the elected officials, they serve you. He's going to clean them out and put his loyalists in to make sure they do. And just to be clear, I know he's a little confused on this issue about women's rights to make their own choices, but I want to be very clear. He does not trust women, but women do not trust him. He will ban abortion. And here's the thing, cutting taxes for the wealthy, taking away your personal bodily autonomy, making it more difficult for the middle class, raising the cost of insulin. The question I keep asking, and I want Republicans and I want Donald Trump and J.D. Vance to answer, who the hell is asking for this agenda? Who's asking for that agenda? I don't think those folks standing out here in the red hats want that agenda because it's damn sure going to hurt them. No one's asking. No one's asking. So here's the deal. He openly says these things that we need to talk to our relatives about. And all of you know, I need to talk to my relatives too. Trust me on this. Nothing makes you more Midwestern than having your family be on this stuff. But look, they're talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare, repealing the Affordable Care Act and protections like this. And I keep saying this, repealing and destroying Social Security and Medicare. If you're a billionaire, you don't give a damn about Social Security or Medicare. If you're my mom who has to pay her heat bill and her food with it, it matters a lot. The vast majority of people care about this. They care about it. And I'm going to give a big shout out. You saw AFL-CIO up here. You saw Teachers Union. You saw building trades up here. Look, we know who built America. It was union labor built America. And when unions were at their strength and their strongest and more people were in them, the middle class was better off. It has been a 40-year attempt by those of the wealthiest to undermine labor unions. But guess what? The popularity of labor unions is higher than at any time in our lifetime, right now. Right now. So it doesn't surprise me that Donald Trump did not do a damn thing on Labor Day. He took the day off, which he should thank organized labor for that day off. If I were him, I would be hiding down in Mar-a-Lago too. I wouldn't want to face working people. I wouldn't want to look them in the eye and tell them why their work doesn't matter, why it should be harder to unionize, why he and his folks have undermined middle America. Look, people are angry for a reason. And this Project 2025 thing, I got to tell you, they're trying to run from it. They continue to try and deny it. But here's what I've said very simply on this. I coached football for enough years to know if you take the time to make a playbook, you're going to use it. You're going to use it. So they took the time to do it. And I will say this. J.D. Vance talks about being from... Look, he should know. He talks about where he came from. He talks about where he was at. But I'll have to tell you, he did say this. He said, there's a lot of angst and people are angry in middle America. Hell, yes, we are, because people like him gutted middle America. The bankers and the robber barons gutted middle America. They shipped our jobs out. So look, you go off to Yale, you get a philosophy major, you write a best-selling book, trash the very people you grew up with. Just don't come back to Erie and tell us how to run our lives. Don't do that. Don't do that. And look, you, the folks here with a little less hair and a little grayer, I want to be very clear about this. This country needs 2 functioning political parties at least. We don't need one and a cult on the other side. We do not need that. So I'm going to give due to the Republican Party of our grandfathers and fathers. A Republican Party, when they talked about freedom, they stood with our allies and wouldn't abandon them. But look, that's not these guys. When they talk about freedom, they mean that freedom for corporations to be able to abuse their workers and pay whatever they want. Banks should be free to foreclose or to take advantage of customers. And the one that they want to talk about, and again, send this to your relatives, folks who believe that government should stay out of their lives or whatever. These are the guys that want government to be big enough to fit in your bedroom, to fit in your exam room, to fit in your library. They want them to be at each of those places. You heard it, and I know you've heard me say it before on this. Look, we come from places, I respect differences of opinion. We don't have to agree on everything. We might not make the same choice you make for your family, but you know what? That's your choice to make. And the thing that makes communities work really, really well is that golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business. The irony of these guys talking about they want to get rid of government or whatever, they want to make government so big they know what books you read. They want government to be so big they want to create, and this is in Project 2025, a national tracking of pregnancies. Yeah. Well, here's the good thing. I think it's important for us to know where we're at, but I don't think it inspires people to run against something. But I do think we need to be reminded who these folks are, because they're going to try and slip out of it every step of the way. They're already somehow, Donald Trump said, women are with me. They support me. I support their... Well, We need to be clear what we stand for. When Kamala Harris talks about freedom, she believes that you should be free to make your own health care decisions. Simple as that. We believe education should be a ticket to the middle class, not a ticket to crippling debt. We believe we should have the freedom to drink clean water and breathe clean air. And yeah, we believe in the freedom to send our kids to school without being shot dead in the hall. The news cycle moves on within a day from what we saw yesterday down in Georgia. Kids going to school the first week of school, excited. Now we have 4 dead. So our hearts go out to the 2 students and the 2 teachers who were killed. Their families will be in mourning. There's many injured in Winder, and that community will never be the same. I said this, and all of you here, both as a teacher and as a student and as a dad, I loved back to school season. Time of hope, excitement. Now for those kids, it'll always be a time of sheer terror, and that'll be a memory that they'll hold forever. And it's a reminder to the rest of the country, we've got work to do, and I, for one, am sick and tired of hearing about thoughts and prayers rather than actually doing something about it. And I say this to all of you. I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. But we can't let them make this just about the Second Amendment. I defend the Second Amendment. But our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe. Yesterday, Vice President Harris said it doesn't have to be this way. And I can tell all of you, as someone who's owned guns my whole life and hunted, I can tell you I can remember it with such clarity. I sat in my office in D.C. when I was a member of Congress, and it was shortly after the Sandy Hook massacre. And I sat in there with all those parents. And at that point in time, I was an NRA guy. That's many of us grew up with that they were gun safety. And I was the only one who took the meeting with them. They tried to get meetings with people who wanted to do this. And to sit in there and listen to these parents, I think about it today. My son, this week, started his senior year of high school. Thank you. Thank you. And it's bittersweet for me because those killed at Sandy Hook would have been entering their senior year too at the same time. And those parents now are without those. So look, we've got something to vote for, not just against. We've got a better future, a better way forward, a way that makes sure that we're not just after the fact spending a day or so talking about this and not doing anything about it. There's things we can do. Other countries don't have to live like this. Other countries have figured this out. So look, I keep talking about this. I hear folks say, tell us what you're going to do. All right, we'll continue to tell you what we're going to do. To all of those young folks, everybody out there, get your phone out, record this one. This is the one you're going to send to those undecided friends. I don't know. I'm not just sure. I don't know. I really am thinking about that we need to give a tax break to billionaires. And I keep thinking about this. They send people out. They send people out to bars in the swing states. Yeah, somebody's sitting at the bar in Pittsburgh tonight, and they're sitting around there saying, you know what we really need to do in this country? We need to ban George Orwell books. That's what we need to do. No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying we need to pay people a fair wage. We need to make sure that health care is accessible. We need to make sure we're tackling things like climate change. So here's what Kamala Harris is going to do. She is going to give a tax cut, but not to the billionaires, to the middle class, to the middle class. If you're looking to buy that home, she's going to make it more affordable to get in that home. And if you're getting squeezed by prescription drugs, you don't have to guess because she's already done it. We're going to tackle big pharma and reduce the cost of those drugs. And if you're going to start that small business, you're going to get help on the front end and cut the red tape to give you a chance to achieve the dream you want to achieve. And here's what I'm going to say. If you're in a union or if you're not in a union, we're going to make it easier to get in one of those and collectively bargain for better wages. And, amen. And if you're dependent on Social Security or Medicare or covered by the Affordable Care Act, we're going to make sure it's safe and sound. We're not interested We're not interested in cutting taxes for the wealthy and then raising the Social Security retirement age. We're not interested in cutting taxes for the wealthy and undermining Medicare. We're not interested in listening to them tell us, I got a good plan on day one. It'd be easy to fix Medicare. Oh, for God's sakes. It's not going to be, and you know it. All right. No matter who you are or where you live, Kamala Harris is there to make sure you make the decisions in your life that's right for your life, for the choices that you and your family make. This is, and I listen to this, that big part of the presidency is, and being in this is who you're going to fight for. I did see this, that Donald Trump was in Pennsylvania, was he not, last night? Harrisburg. There's a saying in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing, but I want to say this. I did watch part of it last night. 11 times, Donald Trump explained to us that he wasn't weird. Okay. I didn't say it. I think we might be getting under the skin there a little bit. But look, when I said that, this isn't about name calling or anything. I was pointing out it's weird to be obsessed with people's personal lives. It's weird to be obsessed with people's healthcare choices. It's weird to continue to talk about sharks and batteries and boats and things like that. What's not weird is tell us what you're going to do about healthcare. Tell us who's going to get a tax cut. Tell us that you're going to protect reproductive rights. Tell us how you're going to tackle climate change. So look, Kamala Harris wakes up every morning thinking about those things, thinking about ways to make your life easier for hardworking people that are just trying to get by. Nobody's asking for a handout here. Nobody's asking to get by easy. Nobody's asking for the easy way out. But for so many of us, my family included, sometimes life throws things at you. So I'll guarantee you one thing. For my family, Social Security survivor benefits was a damn good thing to be there. I'm glad it was. For others, it might be nutrition programs. Those are the things that give people a hand up. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, I guarantee you they're not thinking about that every day. I guarantee you they're thinking about themselves. First thing they do, find the camera and then whine about how they're being treated. Look, that's not how any of us live. That's not how any of us live. So I'll tell you. Well, you know it. It's TV star we've got. This 9-year run of this TV show on the other side is so damn old. Let's turn the channel. Let's cancel the damn thing. Let's move on to something else. Look, Erie, you know what's out there, but here's the great part about it. And this is why we should, because it was paid for in blood. There are billions of people around the world could not imagine gathering as free people in a beautiful park to decide how we're going to go. They're going to decide the direction. You're going to decide which direction we're going to go. This divisiveness and this anger, we get to decide. We're tired of it. I'm sick of it every day. Remember when you used to actually go weeks or months without even talking about the damn president? That would happen because people were doing their job. People were getting things done. We were moving forward and tackling problems. That's a future we want to be. That's a new way forward. That's the way we get this done. So look. This is an incredible privilege. Look, you had to come out here. It's hard work. You've got places to go. You're worrying about the kids. You're looking and saying, damn it, finish up. I got to go watch football. In honor of that, I get it. But this is our job to protect the democracy. And I guarantee you, when history writes about this time, every one of you's here, everyone who's been on the phone, everyone who's doing the work necessary, when we wake up and we've won this thing, you're going to be part of that to say, I made a difference. I made a difference. So, in honor of that, I'm going to give you the Coach Walz pep talk because we're about at kickoff time here. Look, Pennsylvania and Minnesota have a lot in common. We got a lot of beautiful lakes. We get a lot of snow. Okay, Super Bowl rings we do not have in common. But we will get one someday. But we share a history. It was our people who built this country. It was the miners of the Iron Range of Minnesota who pulled that taconite from under the ground, that fueled the blast furnaces of the steel mills, that built the steel, that built the tanks, that liberated Europe from Nazi tyranny. That was our people. That was our people. Those same steel mills forged the steel that built the roads, the bridges, and the skyscrapers of this great country from coast to coast. And it'll be those same miners that put green steel in the ground that continue to create good union jobs, that continue to build this country. It's who we are. We're optimistic people. For Christ's sakes, you get 10 feet of snow here and you just plow it and smile. That's what you do. We walk on water half the year in Minnesota because we are optimistic. We understand that it's about coming together. It's about pushing back the pessimism and looking towards the optimism. And here's our deal. We are in the big game. All of us. Fourth quarter, we're down a field goal. Clock is ticking. Yeah, I know some of you are watching. And we're the underdogs at this point. But that's okay. Our people have always been the underdogs. Our people have always known how to do the work. Our people have always faced long odds. For goodness sakes, we carved a life out of a cold, harsh climate, and we made the best standard of living of any place in the world. And we did it. We did it by this beautiful tapestry of folks from all over making it work. So look, here's our job. The ball's in our hands. This is our time. Our job's to do the blocking and tackling of politics. Inch at a time, yard at a time, phone call at a time, door knock at a time, $5 donation at a time, one rally at a time, whatever it takes. So look, we're in the game. The momentum's behind us. It doesn't matter if it's a beautiful night in Erie. Doesn't matter if it's in Las Vegas with 109 degrees. It doesn't matter if it was in a field in western Wisconsin. People all across this country are coming out and saying, enough with the pessimism, enough with the shit talk in this country, and let's find a new way forward. And for each of you, here's the incredible opportunity. Look, it would be easier if we didn't have to do this. It would be easier if these guys wouldn't undermine our system, if they wouldn't lie about elections, if they wouldn't put women's health at risk. But they are. So it's a privilege for us to do the fight. And here's what the real privilege. Standing in this park with this many people, it is very possible and most likely probable the road to the White House will go through this park in Erie, Pennsylvania. And politics is not an end, it's a means to an end. I talk about this often. We don't win elections to bank political capital to win another election. We win elections to burn political capital to improve lives, to make people's lives easier. You've got the opportunity now to turn this momentum into activism, into a get out the vote effort, into winning an election. And when we wake up on that 62nd day, we got 61 days left. And to your neighbors out there, and to the folks who say, I'm sick of this, that's what they want to do. They want to make people sick of this. They want to believe the system doesn't work. They want to believe you should just stay home. That's what the other guys want. So people tell me, I'm just not that into politics. You know how you answer them? Too damn bad. Politics is into you. It's into you. It's in your bedroom. It's in your every aspect of your life. So look, and don't think these guys don't have plans. And I'm going to say it after what the hell happened in Georgia yesterday. They spend their time banning books instead of banning assault weapons. That is crap. That's crap. That's not where we go. So look, 61 days. We're a hardy people. We know how to do work. We're up against some odds, and we've been there before. I continue to tell people this. Now is the time to do the work. Sleep when you're dead. There will be time for that then. do it now. We love this country. We love our democracy. We believe everybody should have a fair shot. We believe in the freedoms to make your own decisions, and we believe in a hopeful future. So this place, we get to make this happen. And as the next president of the United States often says, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, let's go, Erie.
just to get out of a hotel room wilt in 15 minutes. They were ready for the AC after about 15 minutes, and we're so thrilled with the welcome that you guys have given them, and we're so thrilled with what this state could be with better leadership at the federal level. I mean, think about this, y'all. So, Kamala Harris is an interesting candidate. Yeah, we should boo her because she deserves it. I won't stop you from doing that. But think about this. This is a person who became the Vice President of the United States on a promise of open borders, and she actually delivered. On day one, Kamala Harris said, we're going to suspend deportations. On day one, Kamala Harris said, we're going to stop Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. And remember, what that does is, if you come into this country and you claim asylum, you got to wait in Mexico while your claim is being adjudicated. We're not going to release you into the country, give you a work permit and health care benefits. You got to remain in Mexico. She stopped that policy on day one. And then also on day one, she re-implemented the terrible catch and release policy that allows people to take advantage of our system. She stopped the border wall. You go to the border wall, of course, all across the state of Arizona. You see it sitting there on the ground. And she did this crazy thing where they did parole for millions upon millions of illegal aliens. That is the record of Kamala Harris. Well, I bring a message from Donald J. Trump. If you were in this country illegally, in 6 months, pack your bags because you're going home. Now, here's what we're going to do on top of it. We are going to re-implement deportations in this country. We're going to finish that beautiful border wall along the state of Arizona and everywhere else. We are going to stop catch and release, and we're going to stop giving Medicare benefits and health care benefits to illegal aliens. They deserve to go to American citizens, not to people who have no right to be in this country. Now, that is the Donald Trump agenda, and it's simple common sense. And it's one of the reasons why Donald Trump has gotten endorsements from across the political spectrum. You know, we've got on the Trump team, we've got people like Nikki Haley and Brian Kemp, and we've also got RFK and Tulsi Gabbard. You know why? Common sense. Common sense is what unites the Republican ticket in 2024. You don't have to agree with me or Donald Trump on every single issue, but you know we are united in some basic common sense. We're going to close down that border. We're going to bring down the cost of housing and groceries for American citizens. We're going to try to persuade our fellow Americans instead of censoring them, and we're going to fire that crazy person, Kamala Harris. We're not going to give her a promotion. That's the common sense, unity view of the United States of America. Now let's just talk about some of the wages, some of the costs of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe just last month we had the largest fentanyl bust in the history of this country, $12.6 million of fentanyl. And let's talk just a little bit about the human cost of this, because these are not just statistics. $12.6 million, that's a lot of money, of course, and that's a lot of fentanyl. But let me tell you just a personal story. You know, a lot of you know where I came from and how I grew up, but some of you don't. I was raised by my grandmother, a working class Appalachian woman from Eastern Kentucky. She was a Spitfire. God bless you guys. Thank you. Now, Mamaw was an interesting study in contrast. You know, Mamaw, she was a woman of very deep Christian faith, and she was. Even though she didn't graduate from high school, she thought very seriously about what her Christian faith required of her. Mamaw also loved the F word, my friend. She was and I'll tell you, my wife will attest to this. She gets mad at me from time to time because, you know, sometimes I talk like Mamaw. And that means sometimes our 4-year-old talks like Mamaw, and nobody wants a 4-year-old who talks like Mamaw. I won't even repeat some of the things that she said. I know we've got cameras here and we've got some kids too, but you know, Mamaw, because she was tough, but because she was loving, And because she was firm and disciplined, but also because she gave me a home when I needed one, I was able to live the American dream. And I think the American dream is worth fighting for and worth preserving for, isn't it? But, you know, the reason Mamaw took such good care of me, the reason she had to take such good care of me is because my mom struggled with opioid abuse for a big chunk of my early life. And I'm very proud to say, by the way, that my mom is now right on the cusp of 10 years clean and sober, and we're grateful to God for that. And for all of you who have a loved one struggling with addiction, there is hope on the other side of addiction. There is hope in recovery, and there is grace out there, but only if we make our streets safe enough to give people second chances. Because one of the things that I really do believe is that if the poison that Kamala Harris has invited into this country in 2024, if it was coming across when my mom was still struggling with addiction, I don't think I would have gotten that second chance with my mom. I don't think that she'd be on the cusp of 10 years clean and sober, and I don't think our 3 kids would have gotten to build a great relationship with my mom and their grandmother. And if we believe in anything in this country, in the America First movement, we believe in second chances, and Kamala Harris has taken it away from our citizens. We're going to fight to rebuild it. We're going to fight to rebuild the American dream. And that is why we've got to close down that southern border. You know, I was in Valdosta, Georgia, about as far away from here as you could be, and the weather's a little bit more temperate in Valdosta, Georgia, even in August. But, you know, they showed me something. The sheriff showed me their interdiction room. And that's where all the drugs that they catch on I-10 or on I-75, it sort of sits at the intersection of two major highways. And they showed me the stuff that they got. And, you know, there's big bags of marijuana, there's cocaine, there's pills, there's a whole host of things they showed me. And you know what they showed me? I was confused by it. They showed me a big box of candy. And, you know, it's like Nerds candy, which I think to myself, well, I don't like Nerds very much. I'm more of a chocolate guy, but it doesn't belong in the sheriff's interdiction room. And you know why it's there? Because the drug cartels have figured out that if they disguise this stuff as candy, it's easier to get it into this country. And by the way, what's sick people? What's sick people who use children's candy as a disguise for deadly drugs? And what a sick person we have as vice president who invites these people into our country to do business instead of throwing them out. But you know, it makes me realize that you've got kids who are going to get into a packet of candy on a playground or in their school, and it's going to take their lives. And the reason it's going to take their lives is not because any kid should suffer for picking up a bag of candy, but because their leadership, our children's leadership, has failed them. What kind of a person lets drug cartels do business in their country? What kind of a person allows the drug cartels to disguise fentanyl as candy? And what kind of a person invites these people to get rich off of our country while our own citizens die? I don't want to answer that question, what kind of a person, but she sure as hell shouldn't be president of the United States, which is why we need to say, you are fired. Kamala Harris is fired. Now, it's interesting, though, because, you know, the media loves to cover that Kamala Harris is running a campaign on joy. They say this all the time. Have you heard this? The Democratic National Convention was all about joy. And I thought to myself, well, you know, what does Kamala Harris have to be especially joyful about? She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Americans can't afford groceries. Americans can't afford to buy a home, especially young families. 65% of young Americans are not going to be able to buy a home because of Kamala Harris's policies. We talked about the fentanyl coming into our country. Now, what Kamala Harris is joyful about is that she got promoted to the presidential nomination without earning a single vote. But you know what I'd like? I'd like a president or a vice president who's joyful because they did a good job for the American people. And that is Donald Trump, by the way. Because as much as the media loves to lie about him, Donald Trump has got the best sense of humor, and he's having a lot of fun out there on the campaign trail, right? We all know it, we see it, we watch it every day, but here's the thing. You know why President Trump is excited and happy about the future? It's not that he got a promotion he didn't earn. He's excited about the future because he knows this is the greatest country in the world, and the only thing that's broken about it is our failed leadership. He's excited about delivering lower grocery prices for Americans. He's excited about closing down that southern border. He's excited about making our streets safe again. And he's excited because the people of Arizona are about to elect him President of the United States to make all of us better off, not just him, all of us together. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to end catch and release. We're going to close down that border. We're going to wage war against against the Mexican drug cartels, not against the American citizens who are suffering because of those drug cartels. And we are going to make this country great again. Now, I want to offer one final point here. Donald Trump gave a speech today, and it's the first time I've commented on it publicly, but I think it's one of the most interesting speeches I've ever heard an American president give. Because, you know, Kamala has this slogan. She talks about, you know, we're not going to go back. And I always ask myself, Kamala, what are you talking about? We're not going back to what? To low inflation, rising take-home pay? We're not going back to a secure southern border? I'd like to go back to all those things because the American people were doing a lot better. But I realize, my friends, that when she says we're not going back, we are going back to a very ancient and dark time in human history. We're going back. Kamala Harris wants to send us back to a place where you have to be rich to enjoy public safety, where you have to be wealthy to afford to buy a home in this country, where if you want to have a nice steak on a Friday night, you've got to make a lot of money. I happen to believe that middle-class Americans ought to be able to afford a nice steak on a Friday night. Isn't that just simple? So, you know, Kamala Harris wants to take us back to a point where the country and the world don't actually work unless you've got connections and unless you've got a lot of money. But the promise of this country, the promise of liberty and justice for all, is that whether you're rich or poor, you get to live in a safe community. Whether you're rich or poor, you get to afford a nice meal for your family. Whether you're rich or poor, you live in a country where your leaders protect the border instead of tearing it down. Kamala Harris wants to take us back to a time when America didn't even exist, because in America, every citizen controls his own destiny. Every woman controls her own future. Kamala Harris wants to take us back to a broken time in world history. Donald Trump wants to rebuild the American promise where everybody, we all believe in liberty and justice for all, and every single citizen gets access to it. That's what Donald Trump's trying to bring us back to. And you know, he said something at this speech that I've just never heard anything like it from a person who wants to be president of the United States. Because for 30 years, there has been a broken consensus in this country that we don't need to make our own stuff. We don't need to employ our own workers. We'd rather buy energy from tin-pot dictators in the Middle East than from our own workers and from our own territory. And Donald Trump just ripped all that up today. And he said something that I think is going to live on in this country. It's going to dominate this country's policy for the next generation. He said that we want to reward American workers. We want to cut taxes on American workers and penalize companies that are shipping jobs overseas. Think about that. Because what Kamala Harris has been doing and what our broken leaders have been doing for a generation, not just her, but for 30 years, has been exactly the opposite. They've been raising taxes on American citizens to give health care benefits to illegal aliens and people who shouldn't be here. They've been raising your taxes and sending it overseas to Chinese companies that are building electric vehicles. And Donald Trump says that is bogus. That is garbage. We're not doing it anymore. So if America first means anything, it means we're prioritizing the American worker, we're prioritizing the American citizen, and we are rebuilding a country where wherever you came from, whatever your background is, whoever your parents were, liberty and justice for all, not just for the well-connected and not just for Kamala Harris's donors. God bless you all. Thank you for having me. Let's make this country great again. Donald Trump's going to do it. We just got to get him across the finish line. God bless you, sir. Now, this is for the less friendly part of our festivities here. We're going to take some questions from the media. And let me just say this. What I would like to do is start out with local reporters. We'll take a few questions from the local folks, and then if we have time afterwards, we'll take some questions from the national pool as well. So if you're a local Arizona reporter, let's start with you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Rachel Alexander with the Arizona Sun-Times, and I also used to work as the Maricopa County elections attorney when it was under some better leadership. And my question for you is, I know that we've got people going to the polls as observers en masse, and we've got Republican attorneys en masse to stop any possible election fraud. Is there anything else that you know of that is being done?
Well, actually, yes. And not just in Arizona, by the way, but all across the country. The Republican National Committee has filed over 100 lawsuits for the basic principle that we want every legal vote to count and we want every illegal vote to be thrown out. It's very simple. If you shouldn't be voting in our elections, you should not have your ballots counted. If you should be voting in our elections, we should make it easier for you to vote and not harder. And unfortunately, the Democrats seem to want to turn this on their head. We've got a bill right now in the U.S. Congress, the SAVE Act, that would make it so that only legal American citizens can vote in our elections. And the Democrats are fighting it, and it occurred to me that there is a logic to what the Democrats are trying to do. It's disgusting, but there's a logic to it. They want illegal aliens to steal everybody's job, and now they want illegal aliens to steal everybody's vote. And if the Democrats have their way, American citizens aren't going to have a stake in the future of this country. We're not going to allow it. President Trump and I are going to fight for people who deserve to be here and have the right to be here. But here's what I know that we're doing in Arizona. I know that we're doing a lot to try to get poll workers to the polls and poll watchers to the polls. And all of you, if you're able to volunteer, please go out and do it. Because we know that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and if we've got people there observing what's going on, that's the best way to secure elections in Arizona. The other thing I know the Republican Party is working hard on is making sure that you don't have a bunch of broken machines on the day of the election. Wouldn't that be nice to have the machines? Wouldn't it be nice to have the machines actually work on Election Day? We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that happens. But if you see something, go out and say something. Talk to your local Republican Party officials. Talk to the RNC. Send a note to me and to the campaign. We want to make sure that every legal ballot counts in this country. And if you're seeing something that's broken, let us know, because we want to fight for that. Next question.
Hi, Ballin Overstoles, KTR News. Why do you think that polls show such a close race between your campaign and the Harris-Walz campaign, even with high frustration regarding the border? Thank you.
You know, I don't put much stock in polls. The only poll that really matters to me is the one on Election Day. And, you know, and I was actually talking to President Trump just before I came out here, and, you know, he reminded me, remember, when he won the presidency back in 2016, one of the closest states was Wisconsin, and there were polls out there that said he was going to lose Wisconsin by 17 points, okay? And he won Wisconsin. So I think a lot of times the polls are out there. Most people aren't talking to the polls. And look, right now, we're at a stage in the campaign where there are a lot of good polls for the Trump campaign. Ignore them. Well, if you see a bad poll for the Trump campaign, ignore them. The good polls, the bad polls, who cares? Let's get out there and work our hind ends off, and let's win this race.
Sir. Dennis Welch, CBS 5 News. Recently, John McCain's son endorsed the other side on the other campaign over there. I wanted to get your take.
Well, look, I
do have a question. I recently read that in a college newspaper, you were quoted as praising John McCain. So kind of a two-part. Get your thoughts on McCain's son endorsing the other team, and what do you think about John McCain and his legacy? Because as you know, Donald Trump and McCain's legacy is complicated at best.
Well, look, one of the things I love about Donald Trump, and I never knew John McCain, but I suspect that one of the things that I would have loved about John McCain is that they didn't let their personal grievances get in the way of serving the country. Okay, so John McCain, I'm sure, disagreed with Donald Trump on a whole host of issues, and yes, Donald Trump disagreed with John McCain on a whole host of issues. I do not believe for a second that if John McCain were alive today and he sees what's going on at the American southern border, that he would support Kamala Harris in all of the destruction that she's wrought. I really don't believe that. Now, look, I think, look, who cares what somebody's family thinks about a presidential race? I care about what these people care about the presidential race. I really couldn't. Look, John McCain has been, John McCain died, 5, 6, 7 years ago? And the media is turning into a story what John McCain's family says about Donald Trump. I don't know if anybody noticed, but pretty much every single member of Tim Walz's family came out and endorsed Donald Trump. Is that a bigger story than what John McCain's son said? I think so. So, sir, whatever John McCain's family thinks, whatever John McCain would have ultimately thought about Kamala Harris's policies, my goal here is to persuade every single person in this room and every single person in the state of Arizona that their lives will be better if they elect Donald J. Trump. I believe that in my heart, and I'm going to keep on fighting for that basic idea. Next question.
Hi, Senator. Stephanie Murray with the Arizona Republic. My question is, what should...
It's okay, it's okay. I'm sure she's one of the good ones, right?
My question is, what should Arizonans expect to hear from Trump and Harris in the debate next week?
Well, I think that what you're going to hear from Kamala Harris is that despite all evidence to the contrary, she agrees with Donald Trump on everything now. We have to remember, she's on video saying she wanted to defund the police, and now she says, well, she didn't mean it. She's on video saying that she wanted to open the southern border. Now she says she didn't mean it. She's on video saying she wanted to end fracking in this country. Now she says she doesn't believe it. She cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act that made houses and groceries unaffordable, and now she says that she wants to lower prices for American citizens. Kamala Harris, if you want to do all these things, you ought to drop out and endorse Donald J. Trump because he's already done them. It's that simple. Now, I joked with the president a few days ago, and I said, sir, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out why Kamala Harris is running from every single position that she once held. It's because she realizes that we're going to win and she wants my job. She must really like living in the Naval Observatory, and now she wants Trump to switch me out for Kamala Harris. I don't think that he's going to do that, by the way. But look, I really hope that Kamala Harris actually just answers some questions about why she allegedly is running away from every single position that she had, and most importantly, if she wants to close down the border, and she wants to lower the cost of energy, and she wants to make housing more affordable, why doesn't she do it now? She's the vice president today. She doesn't need... It's so funny to hear Democrat politicians talk about Donald Trump, and they say, well, we want to close the border. Well, Donald Trump already did it. Well, we want to get inflation below 2%. Well, Donald Trump already did it. Well, we want rising take-home pay for the middle class. Donald Trump already did it. These guys, I hope with the debate that Kamala Harris answers for her record, because I sure as hell know Donald Trump will proudly answer for his, because it's a record that we can all be proud of. And I gotta say one more thing on Kamala Harris. You know, they agreed to this debate. They agreed to this debate months ago. And over the last few weeks, and I've seen this from the inside of the campaign, over the last few weeks, Kamala Harris has been trying to change the rules on the debate. She wants to change everything because she knows that unless she gets the rules that she wants, unless she has a bias set up, the American people are going to reject her. But you know what she really wants to do? And look out for this on September the 10th. She really wants a moment where she can interrupt Donald Trump and say, I'm speaking. Because, you know, Kamala Harris, sometimes I think she doesn't want to be the vice president. She wants to be the vice principal. She really likes to just tell people what to do, and she really wants that moment where she says, I'm speaking, right? And that's exactly what she'll watch for it on September the 10th, and then you can come back and say you heard it here first, that Kamala Harris, what I'd like her to actually do again is just explain her record, because I think the American people deserve to have a president who explains their record and doesn't run from it. Next question.
Hi, Senator Kit Maher, CNN. I wanted to ask, in the wake... Thank you.
Now, Kit, I honestly, she's going to hate me saying this. Kit's one of the good ones. But she won't be able to go back to CNN after I just said that. So take it or leave it, Kit. Ask your question, please.
Thanks, Senator, for taking my question. I appreciate it. In the wake of the Georgia school shooting yesterday, I wanted to ask you, what specific policies do you support to end school shootings like this? And if you allow it, a second one, specifically on the debate, has Trump consulted you for any advice? Have you participated in the policy discussions that he has held with Tulsi Gabbard? And what advice have you offered him?
Yeah, so just on the debate, I mean, look, the president and I talk every day, and, you know, we're constantly talking about what are we seeing out there, what are people that we're talking to saying to us, because we do, unlike the Kamala Harris campaign, get out there and talk to people. We don't just stand in front of a teleprompter and try to talk at them. We often let them say things too. And so we're constantly trading ideas and trading, you know, war stories from the campaign trail about what we're hearing and what we're seeing. But no, you know, we're not going to have some formal debate prep session, because Donald Trump doesn't need it. Donald Trump actually knows what he believes, and he knows his record, and that's all he really has to talk about. So whether it's with Tulsi or with RFK or with Nikki Haley or with anybody else, I think the president will keep on doing what he does, which is talk to people, hear what they're seeing, actually go out there and try to understand what they're seeing on the campaign trail, and just try to incorporate that into a message that works for the American people. That's what he's done. That's what he'll continue to do. Now, on the first question, look, first of all, what happened in Georgia is just an awful tragedy. And I know we've got a lot of parents and a lot of grandparents in this room. I mean, I cannot imagine, you know, little kids so excited to go back to school. God love them. And they're at their first week back from the summer, and an absolute barbarian decides to open fire and take their lives and also a couple teachers. We got to think about these people. If you're the praying type, and I know I am, we got to hold them up in prayer. We got to be hoping for the best for this incredible community, because no parent should have to deal with this. No child should have to deal with this. And yes, after holding these folks up in prayer and giving them our sympathies, because that's what people deserve in a time of tragedy, then we have to think about how to make this less common. Now look, the Kamala Harris answer to this is to take law-abiding American citizens' guns away from them. That is what Kamala Harris wants to do. But we have to ask ourselves, we actually have been able to run an experiment on this, because you've got some states with very strict gun laws, and you've got some states that don't have strict gun laws at all. And the states with strict gun laws, they have a lot of school shootings. And the states without strict gun laws, some of them have school shootings too. So clearly strict gun laws is not the thing that is going to solve this problem. What is going to solve this problem, and I really do believe this, is, look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door we've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to. And again, as a parent, do I want my kids' school to have additional security? No, of course I don't. I don't want my kids to go to school in a place where they feel like you've got to have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in. And a bunch of my colleagues in the Senate, we actually worked on legislation that would give schools more resources to bolster their security, because if these psychos are going to have to go after our kids, we've got to be prepared for it. We don't have to like the reality that we live in, but it is the reality that we live in, and we've got to deal with it. Next question.
Hi, Senator Vance. Thank you for coming back to Arizona. My name is Christy Kelly, and I'm with the Arizona Sun-Times. We are your conservative newspaper, just about it here.
Thank you.
I was speaking with an older woman. She was very sweet. She was gushing over you, gushing over your book. She was saying how great you were. And then she was like, but I heard he doesn't respect women. In Arizona, you're going to have to reach the independents that are believing the lies of mainstream media. So what would you say directly to independents that are buying into that?
Well, I guess the first thing that I'd say is I was raised by strong women. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a strong grandmother. And thank you. And a strong mother who, despite her struggles, made sure every single day that I had what I needed and fought for me, even when sometimes she couldn't fight for herself. I wouldn't be here. And there are a lot of kids in this country who wouldn't be here without strong women. So first of all, what I think we got to say is that anybody who believes the lies of the media is, this is a kid who loves strong women because he wouldn't be here without them, and he knows this country wouldn't be here without him. So we got to fight for them and make their lives easier. Now, look, there of course are comments that I made sometimes even before I was running for Senate that were sarcastic, where the mainstream media has repeated them instead of repeating the policy failures of the Kamala Harris campaign and the Kamala Harris presidency. And I just ask all independents, all Democrats, all Republican, whether you're a man or a woman or just whatever your political station, whatever your background is, what do you think is more important, a sarcastic comment that I made 4 years ago or the fact that Kamala Harris has opened the southern border? A sarcastic comment that I made 4 years ago or the fact that Kamala Harris has made it hard for strong women to send their kids to schools that actually teach them instead of indoctrinate them? I think that the reason the media and the Harris campaign are lying about me is because they can't tell the truth about their own record. And I happen to think that we ought to be led by somebody who believes in the American people enough to level with them, to tell them the truth, and to run on their record instead of on lies. And Kamala Harris ought to be ashamed of herself. And if you're an independent, a Democrat, or a Republican voter, I just ask you, look at the real record, look at the real context, and what you'd find, I think, is that Donald Trump and I are the only ticket for strong women and strong families in this country.
Senator Vance, Torian Small with CBS News. Donald Trump last week announced that he wanted either private insurance companies or the federal government to cover the cost of IVF for families. How would a Trump-Vance administration pay for that?
Well, look, there are a lot of things that we could pay for in this country if we focused on American citizens instead of on illegal aliens, right? This is not... I think it's so funny when the Democrats say, well, you're not going to be able to pay for that. Well, we're not going to be able to pay for anything if you keep on giving $500 billion to illegal aliens every single year instead of booting them out of this country and focusing on our own citizens. I mean, we have to think about this. Kamala Harris wants to give Medicare to illegal aliens, which would bankrupt that program and throw a generation of our elderly Americans into poverty. Think about all the housing benefits. Think about the fact that we are jailing thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens in this country right now. Think about the fact that municipal budgets have to pay for the health care costs and the schooling expenses of millions and millions of people who shouldn't be in this country in the first place. We have got the richest and most bountiful country in the world. What we need is a leadership that puts American citizens first instead of putting the interests of illegal aliens first. And if we do that, there's a whole lot we can do and do a lot better. So I want to be mindful of time. Let me take one more question, and then we're going to have to get out of here.
Hi, Senator. Thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
My question is, RFK Jr. is working right now to get his name off several ballots, including a lot of the battleground states. Could we see the Trump campaign join him in that effort, especially given how Kennedy and Trump have shared values? And do you think he dropped out too late, given everything that's happening right now?
Well, look, I'm not going to make RFK's decisions for him. I'm glad that RFK is on the team, and I think it sends a great signal to Americans and especially I think it sends a great message, especially to Kennedy Democrats who feel left behind by the Democrat Party. You are welcome in Donald J. Trump's Republican Party, and RFK is, I think, leading the vanguard there. It's a great thing. But yeah, I mean, look, if RFK took more from Kamala Harris than from Donald Trump, do I think a lot of these Democratic officials would be rushing to get him off the ballot? Yes, I do. But we don't choose the deck of cards that we're playing with here. We can only control how we're actually playing the hand that was dealt. We're going to do everything that we can to persuade voters. We're going to do everything that we can to get RFK off the ballot in states where he wants to come off the ballot. And we're going to win this race regardless because the American people need better leadership. Donald J. Trump is going to give it to them. So, on that note, thanks to the reporters for the questions, but most of all, thank you all for being here. I want to make one request of you, and it's very simple. Look, we lost Arizona. 10,000 votes was the difference between Arizona going for Donald Trump and 10,000 going for Joe Biden. Yeah, there were a lot of problems. But 10,000 votes stand between us and getting those Arizona electoral votes. And we got a lot of people just in this room today. And so I'm going to make a very special request, and that request is this. I want you to all get out there and vote 10 times. Now, no. I know y'all a little uncomfortable. To the media, yeah, that will be the headline in the New York Times. J.D. Vance promotes voter fraud in Arizona. But I want us to vote 10 times the legal way. And you know what that means? That means take yourself and take 9 of your friends and family and get them to the polls by November the 5th. We had over 2,000 people at a church in Mesa last night. We've got a great crowd here today. If just the people in that crowd and this crowd get 10 people to the polls, we are going to win the state of Arizona. We're going to take back the White House, and we're going to give this country a president it deserves. God bless you all. Let's get Donald Trump over the finish line, and let's do it together. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Arizona. We're going to go red in November.
Why don't we liberate these United States? We're the ones who need it worst. Let the rest of the world help us for change, and let's rebuild America first.